most popular conversation for a black man to have with a black woman, but nonetheless, I think it's very important to have. So this video are for black women who want to date and marry. There's a lot of reasons that relationships don't work out in the black community. And most common, we get into some of the top reasons is that you get into relationships for the wrong reasons, ladies, when it comes to black men. Some of you marry for money. You want a six-figure person who has a lot of money. Now, we've all heard that, and that's a quick ticket to divorce. But what about you marrying because is what you think it should be? I met many divorced men and women, including myself, who say that problems that made them leave were the right from the beginning. But everyone expects to live happily ever after. Or we have already spent so much money on the wedding or the honeymoon and also building your dream home. So remember, until you say, I do, you always have the choice to say, I don't. What about the lack of individual and identity? See, a codependent relationship is not healthy, where you're always depending on the other person for your identity. When you don't have your own interests or the opportunities to express yourself inside of a couple, you become couple dumb because you don't have your own likes, your own interests, your own hobbies. If you're not comfortable doing these things without your partner, or you don't know what kind of music or movies or food you used to like, you're probably in a horrible relationship and you don't even know it. And the reason why you're dating and or probably getting married won't be worked out in no time. Because a lot of times we become lost in our roles, right? Many couples forget that they're single friends and they're single ways when they get married. You add children into the mix. Most parents soon neglect or completely forget that they are a couple. And a lot of times being with your single friend while you're dating, you still believe that you have certain freedoms. There's a certain commitment. Now, commitment doesn't mean that you're jailed or tied down, but nonetheless, it means that you are committed. When we talk about identity, we also need to talk about having a shared vision of success. Because a lot of times, more times than not, you expect or you get into a relationship or dating with expectations that you have not communicated that with your partner. See, some women may say, everything changed when we got married. He drives you crazy because he either a saver or a spender, or you expected him to start his own business. You expected him to be a six-figure guy. You expected him to do all of these things. You expected. These are expectations, not committal agreements that you guys made while you were dating. Your idea of a weekend getaway is a cozy cottage in a tropical island, where your partner, he wants to hit the town and catch a game. He thinks it's your job to cook and clean, but you disagree. These where we kind of get roles mixed up. And then later on in the relationship, and this occurred even in my life sometimes, that the intimate in your relationship disappears. Now, let me say this. This whole conversation, ladies, is to give you a male perspective on this situation. So essentially, not to be condescending or even rude, this is a one-way conversation. So I'm not going to be doing a lot of compare and contrast. See, in your dating life and your marriage life, somewhere in there was a subtle change in intimacy. One person had a day off, and it's basically a misunderstanding, or someone's going through something medical or having some particular issues. But nonetheless, there's still an account of the level of intimacy that has decreased. Now, whoever is the one with the subtle change can trigger a downward spiral in the intimacy department. Men generally need sexual contact to feel romantic, and women generally need romance to be sexual receptive. Meaning, as you know, my dad used to say, you need to warm up the engine. My granddad, that is. You need to warm up the engine before you start to drive. As long as both people are getting what they need, they're willing to provide what other people want. However, there's lessons on either part that can be a trigger in this particular manner. See, if gone unnoticed or unchecked in the intimacy department, before the couple realizes they are seriously, intimately estranged, okay, because they feel like you don't even know each other anymore and wonder what happened in your relationship. This can lead to divorce or you guys simply breaking up. Now, there's another major thing, especially, with Black women, of doing certain sexual acts. I know some Black women will still tell you that they don't like performing fellatio. Well, a lot of men like fellatio. There's a lot of Black men who actually love anal sex. And then we started getting to the argument about anal sex, where if you want anal sex, go do it with a guy. He's not gay. He wants it with a woman. He wants to explore you further. But this is the debate. This is the argument that occurs. See, you're not willing to give yourself in a certain manner. So you need to find out, men, prior to getting into those dating relationships, prior to getting to being married, of what they want in each category. See, he is doing his due diligence, but you're not doing your due diligence. That's why you're in and out of relationship. And he probably just got with you to have sex. There's a lot of unmet expectation, but the one I really want to focus on is your finances. Not your finances, but the finances you expect your partner to have. And I've heard this over and over again. I started looking at a couple of videos of late, but this subject comes up over and over again throughout the course of time. That Black women want Black men that make six figures because they make six figures. Or here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. And again, this is for Black women who want to date and marry Black men. We need to understand the demographics of things. We need to understand this, because a lot of times, especially in history, we thought that cheating and finance was the top two reasons. But all those other things are reasons as well that we don't really think about. It's all the little things, right? When it comes to cheating and finances, these are the two major things. But this is why you're single, because your expectation and finance as well. And you're not understanding the demographics. Because here's the thing, and I'm getting my information from blackdemographics.com, okay? 51% of Black males are single and have no kids. 64% of Black males are in the middle class. And I think this is something that we really need to think about, because it's pertinent to who you're dating. It's pertinent to who you're dating, because you're always making an excuse. Because I've heard of relationships being in great standing, but they wanting him to make more. Then the expectations that you had that you never told him prior to getting married or prior to getting into a committed relationship after dating, that you wanting him to do more. Some men are fine just where they are. Now, my question is, do you want to be with somebody who wants to continue to grow? Or you want to be with somebody who's going to care and nurture and take care of you? That doesn't require six figures. Because we need to understand the demographics here. And this information, if you notice, they always cite their sources. So this is not coming from a bunch of Black people who's making up things. The U.S. Census Bureau Current Population Survey of 2019. Okay, we need to understand these things. See, we have to speak factual instead of how we feel. Because I know a lot of times, speaking to women, they're talking about how they feel versus what's true and factual. See, when we look at this, 4% of the upper middle class, 150K to 200,000. But if I come down here, it says the middle class here, correct? 50 to 150K. Majority of the people, this is annual household incomes. We understand that majority of Black people, period, we're from the working class to poverty and the working poor. How much percent is that? These are the type of demographics and information that we need to know, even in dating, but we don't want to do that. We want to automatically expect a certain number. And so what happens in the Black community is that men, we go out and we like to show whatever money we have to attract certain women. This is a one-way conversation, because I know you guys are going to have a lot to say. But nonetheless, these are the reasons why you are single. First and foremost, probably the most important thing is communication. Communication. You can't stop talking in order to listen to what the guy is saying. You are already formulating your answers, cutting them off, over talking him, yelling, screaming in some cases, that you're not even listening to him. See, you feel whatever emotions that you're going through are adequate or pertinent to the conversation at hand. And believe it or not, it's probably a 60% to 70% chance it isn't. Because most likely this guy is giving you factual information, whereas though you're speaking out of your emotions. Because I believe that a lot of you are probably out of touch. Not just mentally, not just financially, but also in physical contact as well. There's some women who don't even like to hug and or kiss. And that's a part of intimacy. Because a lot of you get into the workforce and you lose your identity, your priorities and interest change. So what you say, you outgrew the relationship or you outgrew him. You're going to run into a major problem because you're going to find what you want. You're going to find a business person. You're going to find a man making six figures. You're going to find a black, tall, dark, whatever shade you want, making six figures as well in shape. You're going to find them. But it may not be what you want. Because we understand that having shared interests and exploring them together is essential for a successful marriage and or relationship. But it's also important to have your own time as well. But you need to figure out what you exactly want. And here's the thing. I never understood expectations in a relationship, right? And what I mean by that is you meet a guy, he's handsome, you take him through the ringer, you ask him your 100,000 questions, then you begin to date him. And if he was truthful, he's not going to change in that. He'll tell you his ambitious, his goals. But what if let's take for instance, he's a bus driver, but he makes six figures. Let's say he's a bus driver, he makes 100 grand a year or 95,000 a year, slightly under six figures. What happens when that relationship is growing because you are growing, you expect him to do more. Hey, why don't you start your own trucking company? He's like, well, I don't want to do that. I've been working for this company for 15 years. This is all I want to do. I've been working for this company for 5 years. But you tell them, you boost them up. Well, you are intelligent. You have this degree or you have this certification. I can help you. I don't want to do that. That starts to play on your emotions and feelings because you have an expectation for him to do more than what he wants to do. But you're still in a loving, caring, and neutral relationship. In our relationship and also in our communities, we have the inability to resolve conflicts. See, every couple have disagreements, but the key is to develop ground rules so that each partner feels they're respected and heard. The question is, I really want you to examine, do you do that in your relationship? Have you done that in your past relationships and marriages? Do you feel like you respected that person enough to hear them out and actually listen without already formulating your response? That's a major, major issue. Sometimes you need a third party to referee, and sometimes that don't even helps out because you have already predetermined that you are Mrs. Right all the time. And this is the problem. Because if you already know that you're right, and you've always been right every time, it doesn't matter what the conversation is, you can't hear him out. You can't hear him out. But here's another thing. In the Black community, in reference to men that you want, who's making 80 grand or more, even six figures, don't expect to get a man like that if you're not taking care of yourself. Because in the Black community, we have a lot of obesity, and that obesity is in our Black women. And some of you are like, there's fat Black men. You're right. But statistics don't lie. Statistics don't lie. And this is from the National Health and Nutrition Institute. Okay? It says right here, obesity percent. 55% in Black women, 37% in Black men. That's an 18% gap. That's large in our community. But when you go to other races like the Hispanics and whites, we already know Asians are small. 51% of their men are obese, of their women are obese, and 43%, they have a smaller gap of them being obese. And then when it comes to white, they're equally obese, but we're still second to last when it comes to obesity. So why would we want to go out and marry someone who's obese, who's fat, who's overweight, who's going to have problems, who's going to have medical issues later on? These are the things that men actually think about. But the problem is you're so used to beating us up, talking bad about us, that you're not even taking care of yourself in this category, which is the one thing that attracts Black men. And you probably say, I don't have any issues attracting any men. Why are you single? Why your relationship not going well? And you're going to come up with every reason in the world. But believe it or not, ladies, you can't trust a big butt and a smile, because essentially that big butt, if not keep working out, will become fat. Let's move on. Another thing that you guys need to understand is college and university percentage of Black men in ratio to the amount of Black men in prison. This is staggering. Now, this is an old demographic, but nonetheless, it's still relevant for today because it hasn't changed that much. And then you say, well, I can't find a good man. See, your definition of a good man is he's 6 feet, 190 pounds, makes six figures, don't have any kids, and he has his own. Now, you and I know of the racial disparities that occur in this country, and I'm not giving anyone any excuses, but this is the reality that we live in, where 1 million of Black men are in college and universities and have graduated, where almost 1 million, almost 900,000, so about 1.5% off, have been incarcerated. And we don't even want to get into the demographics, how many men, a lot of them have been wrongly accused of their crime. Okay, we understand mass incarceration. That's why we're out there marching and protesting. The 1994 crime bill, as well as the 1986 drug bill. And I'm not giving you excuses if you know that. I'm giving you facts. Something that I think in your psyche, and I'm not trying to tell anyone to settle, I'm just trying to tell you to be reasonable. And I know there's one thing that you guys love to bring up, because this is part of kind of your interview or your interrogation when you're on your first, second, or third date of a black man. Are you employed? Are you employed? 66% of Black men are employed. Only 6% are unemployed. And that 27% could be your entrepreneurs. They're not in the labor force. These are white collar. But 66% of Black men are blue collar workers. So more than likely, their paychecks are going to be anywhere from $35,000 to $80,000. So we need to understand the demographics that our Black men are in. And again, I'm not trying to tell you to settle. But just because you make $100,000 does not mean he needs to make $100,000. Because last time I checked, there's many of Black men who have made $100,000 dating and marrying someone who makes less than $80,000. See, that's not a criteria that we put on you guys' shoulder. Not at all. But that's criteria that you put on our shoulders. Now, 70% of Black women are in the workforce. And again, this is coming from the U.S. Census Bureau. Last but not least, income. And we looked at briefly this before, but I just want to give you a quick snapshot so for you to go over this later. Now, let me give you a quick scenario. So I just want to really sum this up to a point in a story. This is a Black woman. Everywhere I turn, it seems as though everyone is in a relationship. Do you know those people who have had a new boyfriend every 3 months? Probably you. But no, I'm not that person. I've never had a shortage of men that wanted to sleep with me. Not to marry you, not to date you. They just simply wanted to sleep with you. Not to take you out, not to be chivalrous with you, But when it comes to awkward conversation of moving to the next level, I'm always seen to be let down. I've concluded that guys, black guys, I talk to don't want to date me because I'm fat. But they will sleep with me. I often just feel used. I know what you're thinking. This is a big claim. But when I looked at my fellow black sisters around campus and the ones who are petite, nice, courteous, polite, and respectful, a small sample of them were single versus to the opposite of what I am. This is frustrating because is it me? Is it my weight? Is it my attitude? Is it my inability to be respectful to my black men? And if that is the case, what is the reason? Was it my upbringing? Was it my childhood? Was it the father figure if I had in a home, or if I didn't have a father figure? Did my mom speak bad about my father? What is the issues I have with black men? Once I found out the issues I have with black men, I think I can then define the expectations that I have for black men and understand that some of them expectations are simply not reasonable. And this is why being a black woman and not listening and understanding a black man, this is the reason why I'm single.